Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 1st. Happy February to everybody out there taking a look at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see BC, Washington, Oregon still have this southerly flow coming up across the area, bringing some light rain, maybe some moderate at times for some areas. Not too much here. The big atmospheric river stuff is mostly done, but some big totals up across Canada. It's really kind of been hard on the snowpack there and across the Washington Cascades down through Oregon as well. Idaho not doing too hot either. We'll dive into some of those details we go through the video here today, as we've had some very warm air, as you can really see how it's just come out of the south here. Look at this, just kind of engulfing much of Canada as well. Some very cold air actually across Alaska, and that's been dropping down on the backside of this big mid-latitude cyclone, and it's what's powering this cold front through the state of California as we speak. But not much of that is getting into the Pacific Northwest, as you can see, and we don't have any organized storm systems off into our extended. We'll take a look at that. I'll show you one system that's going to try to get in here a bit, but it may be targeted as California. Anyway, we'll dive into some of those details we go through the video here this morning. We kind of had summertime here at the end, we had summertime in January here at the end of the month. There was some pretty warm days wrapping up the month of January, and I'll show you that here in a moment as well. So you can see the spin off the coastline here, the colder air moving down towards California, and again, some of the light precipitation continuing off and on. I may try to go out there and get some interesting wave action clouds. Maybe some lenticular will be out there. We'll see how that goes through the afternoon. But we've got some elevated wave issues, also some hazardous surf conditions. There's a surf advisory for some of the Oregon coastline as well, and there's increased wave activity all the way up through British Columbia also. This is the European hot off the presses. Again, you can see our low pressure center there. It is filling, but it still spins off the coastline here, bringing some weak impulses up north with it. And then this is going to kind of weaken and again to drop south and bring a pretty dynamic storm into California here. And there is some wraparound snowfall occurring across some of the Rockies of Montana and Idaho that will be beneficial. Some of that's trying to reach back towards Washington as well, but you can see it's not a lot here. And then we scroll off into the extended a little bit more, and then another system tries to make its way down. Let me update that. In fact, let me go back out, and you'll see right at the end of the run here, another system tries to come down, but it may have its eyes on California instead of the Pacific Northwest. So no big snowmaker in our future just quite yet. I keep waiting to see if we get some changes to show up, but this is the GFS as well. Same map. Again, our low pressure center spinning and filling off the coastline here, and again showing some of that moisture moving up over Idaho and Montana, trying to wrap back around a little bit. The BC Rockies picking up a bit of snow out of that also, but you can see not much for the Washington Cascades or for British Columbia. Some of this, the storm system in California tries to ride up back into Oregon on the GFS, a little bit on the European as well. Doesn't make its way into Washington as much also as that kicks off. And then the GFS, a little bit more of the system approaches the Pacific Northwest here. But again, this may have its main energy focused down in towards California here. And as we scroll off and through the extended, you can see we're not looking at any great snow patterns through the extended coming up there. Maybe a weak system, but that's 10 days out, not even really worth talking about. Now here we are looking at North American model. Again, that cold air across Alaska here, as I showed you, and we saw the big ridge here and the very warm air in the atmospheric river, the low pressure center there. Very warm air over the Pacific Northwest. 4 straight days of 60 plus degree temperatures for Seattle. Cold air dropping down on the backside, passing that frontal system through California. Put that into motion, and you can see we're not getting much help from this colder air back into the Pacific Northwest. You can see it stays bottled up to the north, and continued storms down into California over the next week or so, potentially also. Now, looking at the National Blended Models, you can see again into the mid 50s for a lot of areas here, but probably the last day that we're getting to the mid or upper 50s here. As you can see, we chop some of those temperatures down as we go through tomorrow on Friday, Saturday back towards 50 degrees. A little bit of cooler air arriving finally. I mean, we need it though. The snowpack has just absolutely been hammered across some of the Pacific Northwest here, and dropping the temperatures back down to the upper 40s as we go through next week. And if you look at SeaTac, look at that. 3 straight days at 61, and we still hit 60 yesterday. That was not a record high. We missed it by 1 degree. So we had 3 straight record high days, and pretty interesting stuff. Look at that, 61 for 3 straight days and 60 and 50. And the overnight lows have not been down below 50. I think it dropped below 50 a little bit this morning here. So finally down below 50 degrees here for the first time in about 4 days. And we finished with 6.31 inches of precipitation, actually above average for the month of January. So that's not bad there. Now, taking a look at the low pressure center off the coastline here. This is the European hot off the presses here, 100-meter wind speeds. Some breezy, gusty winds at time for Vancouver Island, Washington, Oregon coast, coastal areas, maybe across a little bit of the northwest interior here as we're going through the day today up the Strait of Georgia. But, not much to write home about. And this low pressure center continues to fill and weaken and moving down the coastline. Again, maybe some breezy winds down the Oregon coast, but nothing too crazy. And then that's going to merge up with the next system into California. Now, taking a look at total snow, Kuchera ratio in inches. This is the European on the left versus the GFS on the right. So let's put this into motion. And you can see a little bit of snow flying for the highest terrain. Not too big of a deal. Then you can see this precip coming for Idaho, Montana, and some of the BC Rockies on both the European and the GFS. Tries to get towards the North Cascades a little bit here. But as you can see, not a big snowmaker for the Cascades of Washington or Oregon. Then the next system kind of moves through here. Actually, let me back up. And you can kind of see the GFS shows a little bit better snow out of this storm that's going to move into California versus the European, lesser amounts here. And then we scroll off into the future about 135 hours and not much in the way of snowmaking here for the Pacific Northwest. But of course, we're going to check back daily and continue to check in on that. Here's the Washington SNOTEL. And again, we've chopped a little bit off this again. You remember yesterday was at 33 and we chopped some of these percentages down a bit across Washington state. Same thing with Oregon as well. Not doing too bad across southeast portions here, but a lot of areas have dropped down below average for Oregon. Northern Idaho not doing too well. And then you can see yesterday, if you remember, 36% we were at. Now we're down to 35% there for the snow in British Columbia. So yeah, we really did a number on it with this very warm air mass moving up over the area. This is 8 to 14 days, so kind of that signal for below average here. But again, we're not looking at any dynamic systems just yet. Hoping, fingers crossed, we're going to check back daily and try to see if we can get that to change. Here's 8 to 14 day precipitation, kind of near normal here, and no strong signal. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, click on that link down below to save 10% off. Solar powered. Make sure you keep your weather station out of the effects of the vegetation block and your solar power so it can charge up. It's got lightning detection system, and it's got ultrasonic anemometer, and it's got temperature that actually does pretty well against much more expensive weather equipment. So highly recommend this station. Again, click on that link down below to save 10% off. But yeah, there goes our low pressure center there. Maybe some good wave watching on the coastline out there. I might get some lenticular cloud activity, and there's might be a few breaks out there right now, especially across the coastal areas. Maybe those will move inland as we go through the day today. Might get a little peak of sunshine out there, and still some fairly warm temperatures out there to be had. I mean, we're calling for 57 for Seattle today again, but that'll break our string of 4 straight days at 60 plus for SeaTac. Pretty intense warmth here for January. It's been summer in January out here. I mean, I saw some ants on my deck rolling around. Some mosquitoes are out there. Things are just coming to life. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. See if we can get some cold air down here at some point in February, maybe, and shake things up again. But anyway, yeah, we'll continue to break this down day by day. I'll probably do a live stream either tomorrow or Saturday for the California Weather Channel. So if you want to join me for that, go ahead. And because they're getting some pretty dynamic weather. They got this powerful frontal system. They've really saturated the state. And then they're just going to have this monster barrel into the state as well, another powerful atmospheric river. So if you want to join me for one of those live stream, I'd be glad to see you in there. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you guys are liking these videos. We will do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.